40 million deaths, 12 million square miles. One man. Today the name Genghis Khan is synonymous with a whirlwind of fire and blood, a conqueror who redrew the maps of the world with the edge of a blade. But before he was the Great Khan, he was a boy named Temüjin. He was an outcast, hiding in the mountains, eating rats and scavenging for roots just to see the next sunrise. Today, 1 in every 200 men alive are his direct descendants. This is the story of how the ultimate underdog deleted the old world and built a modern one from the wreckage. To understand the man, you have to understand the land that forged him. 12th century Mongolia wasn't a country. It was a brutal, fractured landscape of warring tribes. It was a world where life was measured in horses and arrows, and where the only law was the cycle of the blood feud. For Temüjin, the trauma began early. When he was just 9 years old, his father, a minor chieftain, was poisoned by rival Tatars. In the brutal logic of the steppe, a leaderless family was a liability. His own tribe abandoned them, leaving Temüjin, his mother, and his siblings to starve in the wilderness. The struggle for survival was total. He was hunted, captured, and forced into a heavy wooden slave collar by those who feared his lineage. But it was during these years of misery, living as a ghost of the steppe, that Temüjin reached a radical realization. The old world, built on noble bloodlines and tribal tradition, had failed him. He saw that in the struggle for survival, it didn't matter who your father was. It only mattered if you could keep your word and hit your target. This was his turning point. Temüjin realized that to survive the steppe, he wouldn't just have to join it, he would have to break it, replacing the rule of blood with the rule of merit. Temüjin didn't just want to lead a tribe. He wanted to end the cycle of tribal war forever. To do it, he did something unthinkable in the 12th century. He broke the chains of tradition. In the old way, when you defeated a rival, you executed the survivors or kept them as slaves. Temüjin changed the game. He killed the high-born leaders who fueled the feuds, but he welcomed the commoners into his own ranks. He judged men by their loyalty and their skill, not their birthright. This was the birth of the world's first true meritocracy. But this new order had a rival. Jamuka, Temüjin's childhood blood brother. Jamuka represented the old guard, the aristocracy of the steppe. The struggle for the soul of Mongolia became a brutal civil war between two brothers. It ended in the mountains, where Jamuka was eventually betrayed by his own men. In a final act of respect for their shared past, Temüjin granted his friend a noble death, breaking his back so his soul would remain in his blood. By 1206 AD, the civil wars were over. At a massive council known as the Kurultai, the white banners were raised. Temüjin was no longer an outcast. He was proclaimed Genghis Khan, the universal ruler. The tribes were now one nation, and they were hungry. The army Genghis Khan built wasn't just a horde, it was a masterpiece of military engineering. At its heart was a combination of two things, the Mongol horse and the composite bow. The horses were small, hardy, and capable of traveling vast distances on nothing but steppe grass. Every soldier had a string of 5 or 6, allowing the army to move with a speed that modern historians still find hard to believe. But speed is nothing without discipline. Genghis organized his men using a decimal system, units of 10, 100, 1,000, and the 2 men of 10,000. If one man fled in battle, his entire unit of 10 was executed. This created a bond of loyalty that was unbreakable. And then there was the psychological toll. Genghis understood that the best way to win a war was to break the enemy's will before the first arrow was even fired. He used whistling arrows to signal maneuvers and create an eerie, terrifying wall of sound. He used smoke screens and fake retreats to lure enemies into traps. He offered a simple, brutal choice: surrender and be spared, or resist and be erased from history. As the Mongols looked south toward the great empires of the world was about to find out exactly what happened to those who chose to resist. With Mongolia united, Genghis Khan turned his eyes toward the richest prize on earth, China. For centuries, the Jin dynasty had looked down on the nomads of the steppe as nothing more than barbarians to be managed. They believed their Great Wall and their massive fortified cities were impenetrable. They were wrong. Genghis didn't just smash into walls, he learned how to dismantle them. He recruited captured Chinese engineers to build siege engines, catapults, and giant crossbows that the Mongols had never seen before. By 1215, the impenetrable city of Zhongdu, modern-day Beijing, fell. The Jin emperor fled, and the Mongols had proven that even the greatest empires of the East could be broken. But the most terrifying display of Mongol fury was reserved for the West. When Genghis sent a trade caravan to the Khwarezmian Empire, stretching across modern Iran and Uzbekistan, he wanted a partner. Instead, the local governor accused them of spying and executed them. When Genghis sent envoys to demand an apology, the Shah beheaded them. It was a fatal mistake. You did not kill a Mongol messenger. Genghis unleashed a scorched earth invasion that redefined the word total war. He split his army into multiple columns, appearing from the desert like ghosts. City after city, Samarkand, Bukhara, Merv, were systematically wiped off the map. Millions died. The Shah was hunted to an isolated island in the Caspian Sea, where he died in rags. Genghis Khan had turned a thriving civilization into a graveyard. Yet, behind the smoke and the piles of skulls, a strange peace began to emerge. History calls it the Pax Mongolica, the Mongol Peace. Once the conquest was over, Genghis was a surprisingly sophisticated administrator. He knew he couldn't rule the world from the back of a horse, so he built a system that favored stability. He granted absolute religious freedom to all his subjects, exempting priests and monks from taxes. He knew that a happy population was less likely to rebel. To keep the empire connected, he created the Yam, the world's first international postal system. It was a network of relay stations where riders could swap tired horses for fresh ones, allowing messages to travel thousands of miles in a matter of days. Because of this security, the Silk Road exploded. For the first time in history, a merchant could carry a gold plate on his head and travel from the shores of the Pacific to the gates of Europe without being harmed. Ideas, technology, and trade flowed across the globe like never before. The blood of the conquest had paved the way for the first truly global economy. Even as he entered his 60s, Genghis Khan never stopped. His final campaign was against the Western Shah, a kingdom that had dared to withhold troops during the Persian invasion. He viewed it as a personal betrayal, and even as his health failed, his resolve didn't. In 1227, the Great Khan died. Some say it was from internal injuries after a fall from his horse. Others suggest illness. But even in death, he remained a master of strategy. He ordered that his passing be kept a secret until the campaign was won, ensuring his enemies wouldn't find hope in his absence. Then came the funeral, perhaps the most mysterious in human history. Legend says that as the funeral procession carried his body back to the Mongolian heartland, the soldiers killed every person they encountered to keep the path a secret. When they finally laid him to rest, they supposedly rode 1,000 horses over the grave to erase any trace of it, then diverted a river to flow over the site. To this day, despite the best efforts of modern satellites and archaeologists, the tomb of Genghis Khan has never been found. He returned to the earth as he began, a ghost of the steppe.